is up, my totally offensive army and random YouTubers alike? Back again for another reaction video, and this time we're not going with like a music reaction or a funny video reaction. No, this is more in the style of debunking these conspiracy theory videos that you guys have put so much emphasis on. In fact, this particular video that I'm about to get into was brought to my attention over on Facebook, where it's gotten hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of views, and it fucking shouldn't have, because it's not even close to factual, nor does it even represent anything resembling common sense. This video so far is known by the title, "This ER Doctor Just Nuked Fauci's Pandemic Fraud." Also under the title of ER Doctors Nuking COVID-19 Hoax, that type of thing. It's out there in various forms. It's been deleted off YouTube, so I had to go ahead and download it to my hard drive once again, because YouTube says it violates community guidelines. Go figure. A video full of lies. Violating community guidelines. Alright, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it, shall we? Oh, and big ups for you guys who are part of the conspiracy theory channels. Subscribing to my channel. This is not something I typically do. I'm a big Creek Squad fan. I also like making small comedy sketches and that type of thing. But if you guys want to keep subbing and sticking around, be my guest. I don't really ask for subs, nor do I care. But if you're here, you're here. So I guess we're going to go ahead and do the thing together either way. How about that?
Millions of cases, small amount of death. So
Okay.
if we look at California, these numbers are from yesterday. We have 33,865 COVID cases.
Oh.
Out of a total of 280,900 total tested. That's 12% of Californians were positive for COVID. So we don't, the initial, as you guys know, the initial models were woefully inaccurate. They predicted millions of cases of death, not of prevalence or incidence, but death. That is not materializing.
In case you don't know, models in the media and in the government are always, in the realm of history and also current events, completely inaccurate. Those are just like a hypothetical scenario taking place, usually using some type of computer algorithm or some type of software that can't really go ahead and describe and factor in the human condition. Those models are never going to be accurate, yet we use them from everything from like determining the population to the weather. And how often is your weather report even remotely accurate? Exactly. So anytime someone says they quote models given from statisticians or from computer programmers, they're going to be incorrect no matter what you do, because you can't factor in the human condition. You can't factor in free will. And anybody who cites this as a source of knowledge or like a source of reference is a fucking idiot. Yeah, Alright, let's go ahead and continue on with this. I have a feeling this video is probably outdated as well. But it's been heavily circulated in like the last 48 hours all over YouTube and Facebook, and it fucking shouldn't be.
What is materializing in the state of California is 12% positives. Well, if we have 39.5 million people.
Okay.
If we just take a basic calculation and extrapolate that out, that equates to about 4.7 million cases throughout the state of California, which means this thing is widespread.
Sure.
That's the good news. We've seen 1,227 deaths in the state of California.
1,227. Okay, let's go ahead and look up current COVID deaths in California. At this moment, that number is 1,887. So, another 600 plus people have died since then? Yeah, this is a really relevant and topical video. This is good. I'm glad we're all sharing something so fucking old. Next, you can share my grandmother. She's old and she's got a bad hip. Give that a shot. Alright. What else we got?
Possible incidence or prevalence of 4.7 million. That means you have a 0.03 chance of dying from COVID-19 in the state of California. 0.03 chance of dying from COVID in the state of California. Does that necessitate sheltering in place? Does that necessitate shutting down medical systems? Does that necessitate people being out of work?
Okay, so this 0.03 chance thing. Alright, so basically this guy is saying you have a 3% chance of dying from COVID-19 in California. That's what he's saying. You know, I don't like the odds of 97% survival when I could die the other 3% of the time. I just want to go ahead and point it out there. Like anything that has a 3%, like, ratio of death, I'm just not a fan of. That's just me. I don't like something that says, you could go ahead and you might live 97 times, but the other 3 times out of 100, you could probably die. Like, that's not instilling a lot of fucking confidence. Just saying.
So if this is a typical extrapolation,
Sure.
328 million people times 19.6 is 64 million.
Sure.
That's a significant amount of people with COVID. It's similar to the flu. If you study the numbers in 2017 and 2018, we had 50 to 60 million with the flu.
Okay, let's fact check this real quick, because I feel like we should probably do this. All right, number of cases of flu in California in 2018. Let's try that. Okay, you go through these search results, and what you're essentially seeing is that there are 140,000 hospitalizations and 6,600 deaths from the flu in California. Let's see. The latest data from this agency shows virus, okay, including California, which suffered 52 outbreaks. Okay. Flu cases spike, killing 44 people this week in California alone. Okay, so what we've learned is, due to population density, because there are more people in California than most other states, there are higher cases of the flu. This does not make it comparable to COVID-19. They are two distinctly different viral entities. However, they are both transmitted along the same way, through droplets spread from your mouth via coughing and sneezing. That's the easiest way to pick this shit up. This is why you're urged to, use correct hygiene procedures and to sanitize your work surfaces and your surfaces at home so you don't contract this shit. Okay? It's very simple. This is very simple to do. All you need is some fucking Clorox wipes and you can avoid the majority of the risk here. However, this guy is talking about how the flu doesn't fucking matter, but then again, 44 people this week, die in California, but that's a minuscule number. And then when you go ahead and compare it to COVID-19, he's like, it's not so bad. People are still fucking dying in droves. If I gave you 44 dead people in a room, you wouldn't want to be in a room with those 44 fucking dead people now, would you? But alright, let's carry on. Tell me more numbers based upon your fictional math.
And we had a similar death rate. In the deaths in the United States were 43,545, similar to the flu of 2017, 2018. We always have between 30.
Because this thing I have right here says that we've had 140,000 hospitalizations and then like 6,600 deaths from the flu, and there's at least 15 million illnesses in between there. But go ahead, because I've just got it here in black and white. But I mean, if you're gonna go ahead and talk, fiction on a press conference, why not? Let's do that, because that'll definitely get you some views on social media, won't it, Dr. Asswipe?
7 and 60,000 deaths in the United States every single year.
Oh,
no pandemic talk.
That's
no
yearly?
shelter in place. No shutting down of businesses. No sending doctors home. Severe.
So we can predict human nature and who gets sick yearly, apparently. We can go ahead and predict, the free will and the consequences thereof and where people go and what they do and how sick they get just based on statistics alone. Yeah, that sounds real possible. Later on, I'm going to go ahead and jam my entire fist up my asshole because that sounds possible as well. Okay.
Disruptions were accelerated as we have people coming in 7 in the morning till midnight. We're reporting to the health department. We're calling
hours.
patients
Okay.
back. And at the same time, our volumes have dropped significantly. The hospitals, their ICUs are empty, essentially. And they're shutting down floors. They're furloughing patients. They're furloughing doctors. So the health system has been evacuated in certain places. In New York, the health system is working at maximum capacity. In California, we're really at a minimal capacity. getting rid of our doctors and nurses because we just don't have the volume. The hospitals don't, as I've met with our CEOs twice in the last week, and we don't as well. Because we're sharing our own data. This isn't data filtered through someone. This is our own data. We found 6.5%, and then California has found 12%. So the more you test, the more positives you get.
This is the most common sense statement I've ever heard. Obviously, the more you test, the more positive you get. I could go around testing the entire world for fucking chlamydia, and I would have more positive tests of chlamydia because I tested more of the planet's population. Because you're all out there fucking, we're all out there making bad choices with people we shouldn't probably go ahead and poke and lay down with. It's a thing. Pretty universal. But at the same time, this apparently is scientific fact that leads to you all to have some type of hype generated by this video. I don't understand why. I couldn't possibly tell you. Because so far, for the last 3 minutes and 14 seconds, I've just been inundated by numeric bullshit, which has been proven to be false already in the first 3 minutes of this video. Are you fucking kidding me right now? But sure, let's go ahead and hear more.
Prevalence number goes up and the death rate stays the same. So it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And as we move through this data, what I want you to see is millions of cases, small amount of death.
Yeah, that's
millions of cases, impossible. Small amount of death. Let's go over their numbers.
Yeah, let's do that.
Cases of COVID as of yesterday, 256,272 cases in New York State. Not New York City, New York, the entire state.
Okay. Let's just fact check that real quick. Current number of cases or COVID cases rather, sorry, my bad. COVID cases in New York State. 300,000 with 18,000 deaths. Well, those aren't the numbers he's going to give out now, are they? Guarantee they're not.
A total of 649,325 tests. That's 39% of New Yorkers tested positive for COVID-19.
Okay.
That's their ratios. This is public data online. You can all look it up.
39% of people were tested.
39% of the people were tested.
39% of New York State.
Right.
39% of New York State is there's 20 million people there would be close to 4 million.
Which is likely, they likely have 7.5 million cases.
So I just want to make that clarification. It's not 39% of every New Yorker, it's every New Yorker who's been tested.
When a random journalist in your press conference audience has to explain to you how population density works, you probably shouldn't comment on population density and generate mass hysteria with your false claims. That's all I'm saying. Let's continue.
Right, so we extrapolate data.
I just want to make that.
We extrapolate data, we test people, and then we extrapolate for the entire community based on the numbers.
So you guess.
The initial models were so inaccurate. They're not even.
But in those initial models, a lot of them were based off if we did no social distancing.
Right.
Is that correct? So is it really fair to say, obviously they're not as bad as they were because those were based on alternative scenarios?
And some of them were based on social distancing.
Well, it appears the field reporter in this video is probably the smartest person in the entire video. Someone give that motherfucker an award because he deserves it. This doctor, on the other hand, is now extrapolating an entire virus, an entire pandemic, and the deaths related to those based on some numbers that he just came up with out of thin air. Poof! Results. Right there, they just happened. Genie in a bottle. Oh, look, you gonna grant me some wishes? Can those wishes be just some numbers that aren't even remotely yet accurate or factual? Well, thank you, magical genie. Thank you. I'm going to get views on the internet now.
And still predicted hundreds of thousands of deaths, which has been inaccurate. So in New York, the ones they tested, they found 39% positive. So if that's indicative, and they tested 649,000 people, that's a massive test. That's accurate data, 39%. So if they tested the whole state, would we indeed have 7.5 million cases? We don't know. We will never test the entire state. So we extrapolate out. We use the data we have because it's the most accurate we have versus predict.
So the data he has is already in fact outdated. However, he doesn't know, so he's going to go ahead and make a supposedly educated guess. And then he's going to give you the information based on that supposedly educated guess, which is neither educated nor a good fucking guess. But you know what? Let's go ahead and let this video influence how you behave and how you feel about the overall state of the world. Yeah, that's a great fucking idea. Later on, I'm going to go ahead and turn my stove on in the kitchen, and then I'm going to sit my bare ass on it and just smell my own butthole burning, because I think that might be a fun time and a good idea as well. Okay.
Model that have been nowhere in the ballpark of accurate. So how many deaths do they have? 19,410 out of 19 million people, which is a 0.1% chance of dying from COVID in the state of New York. Okay. And they have a 92% recovery rate. If you are indeed diagnosed with COVID-19, 92% of you will recover. So,
obviously we're not going to mention the 8%. Yeah, okay, sure. I mean, obviously, if we want to go ahead and do some basic math, like if I said 8,000 of you had COVID-19 and like only 8% of you would recover, would you be really happy with the fact that like maybe 600 people going to be dead? Because if I told you to go ahead and say goodbye to 600 people as they lie cold and dead and gray and motionless, would you be happy with that? No, obviously not. And I'm just spitballing numbers here the same as this guy, but I'm actually painting an accurate picture with it. I'm explaining to you what could factually happen based on not guessing. Based on his numbers alone, I'm telling you that there could be like, an entire assembly hall full of dead people alone. But that's considered an acceptable loss? Fucking how? Because this idiot here with too much hairspray says so? Oh, good. That's great. If hairspray and spouting bullshit is the criteria to be a successful doctor, then every member of Motley Crue would be a fucking doctor by now. Are you kidding me?
We're seeing millions of cases, small amount of death. Millions of cases, small amount of death. When you bring up a system of lockdown, you automatically have to compare it to a system of no lockdown. Sweden and Norway. I'm Norwegian. Norway has lockdown, Sweden does not have lockdown. What happened in those two countries? Are they vastly different? Did Sweden have a massive outbreak of cases? Did Norway have nothing? Let's look at the numbers.
Yeah, let's do
Sweden.
that.
Sweden has 15,322 cases of COVID.
Okay, here we go. We're fact checking again. How many cases of COVID does Sweden have? $20,302. Well, that's quite a bit away from 15,000. Okay, sure. We're lying from the jump. Or this video is so old that it's just now considered factually inaccurate, yet it's still influencing your current everyday decisions, which it should not be. Let's be honest here. But sure, okay. Let's tell me more. I'm really excited for this.
They did 74,600 tests, which is 21%. Similar to the other countries, 21% of all those tested came out positive for COVID. Okay. What's the population of Sweden? About 10.4 million. So if we extrapolate out the data, about 2 million cases of COVID in Sweden. They did a little bit of social distancing.
Once again, we're extrapolating and we're saying a little bit of social distancing in relation to 10.4 million people. What the fuck classifies as a little bit of social distancing in relation to 10.4 million people? Are we saying maybe 6 million people just socially distanced while the other 4 million people just sat around and held each other in a circle and sang fucking kumbaya, roasted some marshmallows, had a good old fucking fashion time? Is that what happened? Yeah. We're trying to account for millions of people and what they did when we have no actual knowledge of what they fucking did in a country that has almost nothing to do with the United States whatsoever. But let this guy be the foremost educated voice of authority. Please let this guy be the voice of reason in this era, obviously. What the fuck?
They would wear masks and separate. They went to schools, stores were open. They were almost about their normal daily life with a little bit of social distancing.
Oh, a little bit.
They had how many deaths? 1,765.
Okay, let's fact check that real quick. They've had 2,462 at the moment. Wow. I'm just blown away by all the facts being displayed by the guy with too much hairspray. This is bewildering. My whole life has changed for the better in this very moment. Or I could just punch myself in the dick and experience something more positive. Anyway, continuing on.
California's had 1,220 with isolation.
I'm not
No
even
isolation,
gonna look that up because obviously
1,765. We have more people. What I'm getting at is
accurate.
millions of cases, very small death.
Oh, okay.
Millions of cases, very small death. This is what we're seeing everywhere. Norway, its next door neighbor. This is where I come from. These are two Scandinavian nations. We can compare them as they are similar. Let's look at the data. Norway.
Yeah, let's do that.
7,191 cases of COVID. Total COVID tests, 145,000.
Okay, here we go. How many cases of COVID does Norway have? 7,710. He said that 7,100 something last time. Okay. Oh. Boy. This is so factually accurate, I don't know what to do with myself. Let's carry on.
279. So they came up with 4.9% of all COVID tests were positive in Norway. Population in Norway, 5.4 million. So if we extrapolate the data as we've been doing, which is the best we can do at this point,
yeah, let's guess.
They have about 1.3 million cases. Now their deaths as a total number were 182, fairly small, but statistically insignificant from 1,700.
And once again, that number is 207 and counting. Well, that's a long way from 280 or what 182? Yeah. Okay. That's just like 30 more dead bodies or so. I mean, how do you misplace 30 dead bodies? Nah. Ooh, okay.
100, you realize. Millions of cases, small amount of deaths. 1,700, 100, these are statistically insignificant.
So shove all those
you have
dead
a
bodies in your pocket,
0.003 chance of
job,
death
dumbass.
as a citizen of Norway and a 97% recovery. Their numbers are a little bit better. Does it necessitate shutdown, loss of jobs, destruction of the oil company, furloughing doctors? That's the question I have for you. And I think the answer is going to...
The question is also that these are different countries who have different lifestyles, as a matter of fact. Like their penal systems are completely different. They don't actually have a private prison system or anything like that. Their healthcare system is completely different in terms of universal health care. Their specialists and whatnot, when it comes to healthcare, are also different. Their entire lifestyle choices, right down from their diet, their sleeping hours, and what they do on a daily basis is completely different from that of the United States. So is that comparable? No, that is a basic apples to oranges comparison. That is a completely different way of life than how we live in the United States. We live on cheeseburgers, Bud Light, and stupidity. Meanwhile, these people walk around on cobblestone streets and think chocolate is some type of delicacy, while the women in the United States eat it every time their uterine lining breaks down. You see where I'm going with this? Okay, good. I'm glad we all got there together. It was a nice trip.
to be increasingly clear as we move through this data.
Sure.
The next thing I wanted to talk about is the effects of COVID-19, the secondary effects. COVID-19 is one aspect of our health sector. What has it caused to have us be involved in social isolation? What has it caused that we are seeing the community respond to? Child molestation is increasing at a severe rate. We could go over multiple cases of children who have been molested due to angry family members who are intoxicated, who are home, who have no paycheck. These things last a lifetime. This isn't about a seasonal flu. These are things that...
Let's understand this together. This guy is now saying we should go ahead and open up the country during a pandemic because supposedly a child's relatives or overseers, caretakers, what have you, are getting drunk, frustrated, and thinking the first thing they're going to do to alleviate their frustrations is bad touch a child. Look, you or I, if you've ever drinking like a solid 12-pack and had nothing to do, was your first thought that you wanted to go ahead and touch a 12-year-old cooter? Yeah, I didn't think so.
That will follow these people and affect them in a negative fashion for their life. And these are secondary effects from COVID. And these are from me talking to ERs, talking to my doctors, and talking to people across the country and finding out what they're seeing. Spousal abuse.
Bullshit.
We see people coming in here with black eyes and cuts on their face. It's an obvious abuse case. These are things that will affect them for a lifetime, not for a season. Alcoholism, anxiety, depression, suicide. I talked to Donnie Youngblood and various people in the community. I've asked them, how are things going? Suicide is spiking. Education has dropped off. Economic collapse. Medical industry.
Let me just point out that most of your children are now on e-learning and homeschooling, and there's no actual way to measure the statistics of education, less every community out there who's doing e-learning is going ahead and submitting all their online tests, all their online worksheets from your children to a central database where these are being categorized, cataloged, merely for statistics and analyzation alone. It's not fucking possible for this system to exist in something so new. This e-learning thing and teaching your children, like all of us, schooling our children and with homeschooling, is in its infancy. We don't have a way to go ahead and measure the potential of this or what is happening with your children, our children, during this time. There's no way to catalog this shit. It hasn't been fucking invented. But this guy apparently says it just leads to sex crimes and black eyes. How the fuck is that even humanly possible?
We're all suffering because our staff isn't here and we have no volume.
Sure.
These are all real things that I'm seeing every day. I don't read about this stuff. I'm seeing it in my clinics. We have clinics from Fresno to San Diego, and these things are spiking in our community. These things will affect people for a lifetime, not for a season. So let's make sure we're clear on that.
Okay.
Now I want to compare flu virus. Is this significantly different? And I just got a little bit of data here.
Notice that's what he did in the beginning of the video to first get your attention. Now he's leaving on that note to make it seem like his entire statement, right down from his inaccurate numbers to how this whole thing just leads to sexual molestation, has more of a magnitude on how you feel. To make sure his statements have more of an impact on how you're going to feel. He's ending with the flu virus. Yeah, that's what it is. It's the only thing that you can compare to that you have common knowledge about, because we've dealt with it for so many years versus this pandemic, which is brand new to us with the COVID-19. Okay, this is still in its infancy as well. What we know about COVID-19, we're just barely scratching the surface on, and we're still researching. However, if we're going to go ahead and make a lasting impact on your minds, we'll go ahead and revert back to our original argument, which is what first started this video off, and what introduced this video is with the flu. We'll just go ahead and start there. That's what we'll do. That's a good way to spread propaganda. I like this. We'll do that.
Deaths, per the CDC, 24,000 to 62,000 deaths each year.
Okay. That's wrong, though, because we already proved
we had about 45 million total cases in 2017 with about 62,000 deaths, or a 0.13 chance of death from flu in the United States.
Still wrong.
As you know, our other numbers were 0.02. So the lethality of COVID-19 is much less. Now you've got hotbeds of it in New York, but again, we went over the numbers. 0.1% chance of death. Widespread.
Once again, hotbeds, okay? Those are just spots where there are a lot of people. Where there's lots more people, there's going to be lots more disease, okay? There's going to be a lot more contagions. There's going to be a lot more transfers of said disease. Why? Because that's how it works when you have a lot of people together. Ask anybody who's been in the gym, who's been in the military. When you have a lot of people in a small space, there's more potential for illness. That's just how this works, especially communicable illness, which just means illness that transfers from person to person. This is not late-breaking news. This is not new knowledge. This is just something he's using to end his whole fucking spiel here with the flu, in which none of those numbers have been remotely accurate because we looked them up at the beginning of the video in the first fucking place. But okay, that's fine.
Small amount of deaths. It's similar to flu, as a matter of fact. If we follow the science, as we've been asked to do, I'm following the science. This data is generated by the CDC, World Health Organization. The testing is generated by what we have done here. So we are following the science.
Oh, shut the fuck up. Okay. What I'm really thankful for is that I never have to watch this video again. I'm kind of shocked you guys believe this guy's actual points. They're not relevant. They're not actually current, and they're not at all factual. You can do your own research and prove this guy wrong in a matter of 30 seconds. In fact, we did so together in the beginning of this video, and I'm just really shocked that this video is gaining as much ground as it has, and it has as many views as it's had. It's kind of ridiculous. But anyway, thanks for watching my channel. I appreciate that. If you liked this video, go ahead and throw me a thumbs up. And if you didn't, hey, you know what? Shit happens. But at least you're more educated now, and you have a better reference for what to actually believe and what's true and what's not. And that was my main intention in putting this video out there in the first place. So, yeah, guys, thanks for watching. All I'm saying. Until next time.